The CEO was about to sign the bankruptcy papers until a 6-year-old girl said, "Sir, there's a missing number." The Mont Blanc pen trembled over the signature line as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. David Miller closed his eyes, trying to stop the slight tremor in his right hand. Around him, the silence in the boardroom was so thick he could hear his own heartbeat, rapid, irregular, defeated. 10 years. 10 years building Miller Tech Solutions from a tiny apartment in San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury to making it a cybersecurity powerhouse across the U.S. And now, just one signature. That's all that separated Claire's legacy from total oblivion. David. Valerie Olson's voice sounded softer than usual. If you need another moment, there are no more moments. His own voice sounded strange to him, hollow. The creditors have been clear. Either I sign the voluntary asset transfer agreement today, or tomorrow they force us into bankruptcy and we lose all control. Robert Campbell, his IT director, cleared his throat from across the table. David caught something odd in that sound, impatience, but he was too exhausted to analyze it. "It's the best option, David," Robert said, adjusting his tie. "At least this way you keep some dignity. The company still has a good name. The buyers will relaunch it." Dignity. The word echoed bitterly in his mind. What dignity was there in breaking the promise he made to a woman on her deathbed? "Promise me you'll take care of what we built together. For Sophia, for us." Claire's words from 3 years ago in that hospital room haunted him every night. And now, a movement in his peripheral vision distracted him. Sophia, his 6-year-old daughter, sitting on the leather couch near the window, had stopped drawing. Her big brown eyes, identical to Claire's, watched him with an intensity that broke him inside. He never should have brought her here, never should have let her witness this. But that morning, when the daycare director called about the closure due to a stomach bug outbreak, what other choice did he have? His sister was out of town. Claire's parents had passed years ago. It was just him. It had always been just him since Claire's car lost control on the I-80 freeway. Sorry for the delay. David forced himself to open his eyes. Let's get started. The lawyers spread out the documents like vultures preparing a feast, page after page of legal terms that basically said, "You failed. Hand it all over." Valerie leaned forward, her fingers drumming nervously on the folder she'd obsessively reviewed for weeks. David knew that gesture. 2 years as his CFO had taught him to read her micro-expressions. She hated this as much as he did. Maybe more. There was something in the way Valerie looked at him lately, something David pretended not to notice, because noticing it would mean confronting feelings he'd buried with Claire. Valerie was brilliant, dedicated, beautiful in an understated way that shone when she furrowed her brow over spreadsheets, and totally out of his reach. He was a broken man, raising a little girl alone, clinging to the wreckage of a dead dream. Page 17, Clause 5. The lead lawyer's voice sounded mechanical. Transfer of liquid assets to the account designated by the creditors' consortium. David signed one page, then another, mechanically like an automaton. Sophia got up from the couch, her pink sandals making small sounds against the marble floor. David had dressed her in her favorite coral dress that morning, trying to keep some normalcy in the most abnormal day of their lives. "Daddy," she whispered, stopping by the table. "Are you done working yet? We can go for ice cream soon, sweetie. Just go back to drawing." "It's just that." Sophia craned her neck, looking at the scattered documents. "It's just that I saw something weird." Robert tensed visibly. David noticed it this time. "Sophia, honey, the grown-ups are in an important meeting." "But sir," the girl interrupted, using the formal address they'd taught her in school, pointing her tiny index finger at 2 documents side by side. "These 2 numbers aren't the same." The silence changed quality. It became electric. "What?" Valerie stood up so fast her chair screeched against the floor. Sophia pointed more insistently, her little voice full of childish certainty. "Look, Daddy, this paper says one number, and this other paper says a different number, but they have the same words at the top. In school, Miss Marta says if things are the same, the numbers have to be the same too." Valerie practically snatched the documents from the table. Her eyes, normally serene hazel, widened as she compared them. "Oh my God!" The color drained from her face. "David, these are the 2 annexes to the agreement. Supposedly the same destination bank account. But what?" David felt a chill run down his spine. Valerie turned the papers toward him, her finger trembling as she pointed. "This one has 10 digits, this one has 9. They can't be the same account. I reviewed these documents personally 3 days ago. Both had 10 digits. Someone altered this in the last 72 hours. The world seemed to stop. Robert stood up abruptly, knocking over his chair with a crash that made Sophia jump in fright. It's an administrative error, nothing more. We can fix it. No. Valerie's voice cut through the air like a whip. It's not an error, Robert, it's fraud. David looked at his daughter, who watched him with absolute innocence, not understanding she just detonated a bomb. Then at Valerie, holding the documents with shaking hands. Finally at Robert, whose face had gone from pale to ashen gray. David, don't sign anything, Valerie whispered. For God's sake, don't sign anything else. I want copies of all the original documents now. David's voice rang with an authority he hadn't shown in weeks. Robert took a step back, hands raised in a conciliatory gesture. David, I get you're under a lot of pressure, but this is clearly a transcription mistake, probably someone in legal reformatting. You don't understand anything. Valerie interrupted, her tone icy. I format these documents personally, every number, every comma, and I reviewed the final version exactly 72 hours ago before sending it to your department for corporate digital signature. The lead lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. Mr. Miller, if there's suspicion of irregularities, I recommend postponing the signing until the signing is postponed indefinitely. David scooped Sophia into his arms. She wrapped her little arms around his neck. Valerie, assemble the internal audit team. Robert, I need the access logs to the legal documents server from the last 7 days. Are you accusing me of something? Robert's voice rose an octave. David looked at him directly for the first time in the meeting. 10 years of friendship, shared coffees, code written side by side in all-nighters when the company was just a dream. And now, in Robert's eyes, he saw something that chilled his blood. Guilty panic. I'm protecting what I built. If you have nothing to hide, the logs will prove it. Robert grabbed his jacket with jerky movements. I have an important meeting. I'll send the logs from home. No. Valerie blocked the door, her 5 feet 5 inches frame projecting an authority that belied her height. The logs are extracted now, in the presence of witnesses. Standard security protocol for surprise audits. The tension was palpable. Finally, Robert nodded stiffly, pulled out his phone, and sent instructions to IT with visibly shaking fingers. 15 minutes later, he left, slamming the door. The lights of San Francisco twinkled beyond the windows as the clock struck 11 p.m. Sophia slept curled up on a leather couch, covered with David's blazer. Her breathing was soft, oblivious to the chaos unfolding nearby. David and Valerie had turned the boardroom into an impromptu operations center. Documents covered every surface. 3 laptops displayed comparative spreadsheets. The coffee maker had completed its 4th cycle. Here, Valerie pointed at the screen, her eyes red from fatigue. Original contract digitally signed on the 12th at 2:30 p.m. version we received today, last modified on the 15th at 3 a.m. Who has edit access to those files? 5 people. You, me, Robert, and the 2 external lawyers from Miller Associates. David rubbed his face. He needed a shave. He needed sleep. He needed this to be a nightmare. The lawyers have no motive. They gain nothing from fraud. They'd lose their licenses. I know. Valerie hesitated, then continued in a softer voice. David, is there anything else? I hired a digital forensics firm 2 hours ago, without anyone knowing, without my authorization. Forgive me, but I needed to be sure before accusing you. Her cheeks colored. Or before you accused me. The comment hit him like a slap. Of course, she had full access. She could have. The preliminary results came in 10 minutes ago. Valerie turned her laptop. Someone used my credentials to access the document repository 3 times, November 14th at 3:02 a.m., November 15th at 2:58 a.m., November 16th at 3:14 a.m. Your credentials could have been hacked. Yes. And I was in New York those dates. She slid her phone over, showing flight itineraries, hotel reservations, time-stamped photos from the CFO conference. I have 200 witnesses. David felt something give in his chest. Trust, or maybe the last shred of naivety. Who else has the technical capability to hack credentials at CFO level? The answer hung between them, unspoken but deafening. David's phone buzzed. Building security. The message dried his mouth. Mr. Miller, Robert Campbell just entered the building using maintenance card access. He's in the server room, level 2. Proceeding. David looked up at Valerie. Their eyes met in instant understanding. He's destroying evidence, she whispered. David was already running for the door. The emergency stairs echoed with his hurried footsteps. David took them two at a time, Valerie close behind, when her voice stopped him. "Wait, security's on the way. It's my company, my responsibility." David pushed through the level 2 door. The server room blinked with blue and green LED lights. Among the rows of metal racks, Robert stood at a terminal, his fingers flying over the keyboard with the desperation of a drowning man. "Step away from that console." David's shout cut through the hum of industrial fans. Robert froze, slowly turned. His face, normally affable, was twisted by something dark. Rage, pain, madness. "You don't understand. You can't understand." "Then explain it." David advanced cautiously. 10 years, Robert. 10 years together. Why? A bitter laugh escaped Robert's lips. 10 years. Exactly. 10 years being your shadow. The technical genius behind the visionary David Miller. While you got awards, I fixed your broken code at 4 a.m. I never hid you. Your name's on every, in fine print. Robert slammed the nearest rack. Always in fine print. And when you finally went international, who did you name CTO? That idiot from Silicon Valley. Valerie inhaled sharply, the Rodriguez announcement 4 months ago. "For months," Robert confirmed, voice venomous. 4 months planning how to make you pay, David. The cyber attack was elegant, wasn't it? No one suspected it came from inside. And the altered documents, I was going to buy the company for pennies, rebuild it with my name front and center. David felt nauseous. The company Claire and I. Claire. Robert spat the name. St. Clair, the perfect martyr. You know what? She didn't value me either. When I proposed being a partner 4 years ago, know what she said? "Robert, you're an excellent technician, but you lack strategic vision." Technician, like I'm a damn electrician. That doesn't justify. Robert laughed hysterically. "I'm not looking for justification. I'm taking what I deserve. And if destroying Claire's precious legacy gets me there, even better." Security footsteps echoed on the stairs. Robert paled. Then his expression turned calculating. "One more move and I delete everything. Backups, redundancies, source code, all of it." "We already recovered the access logs," Valerie lied. "Cyber police have copies. But they don't have this." Robert pulled a USB drive from his pocket. "Emails from Claire, private, personal. Want to know what your perfect wife was really planning, David? Want to know?" The door burst open. For security guards rushed in, the chief heading straight for Robert. "Mr. Campbell, I need you to step away from the terminal and hand over any electronic devices." "Back off. If you touch me, I execute a script that," he didn't finish. Valerie, using the distraction, had circled through the side aisle and physically unplugged the network cable from Robert's terminal. The screen flickered and died. "What did you do?" Robert lunged at her. David intercepted, grabbing his arm. They struggled briefly until the guards separated them, pinning Robert against the server rack. "It's over, Robert," David panted. "Over. Not as over as you when you read those emails." Robert smirked maliciously, even as they cuffed him. "Claire had secrets, David, big secrets. And I've kept them all these years, waiting for the perfect moment." They dragged him toward the stairs, but his voice echoed in the enclosed space. "Check the UCSF Medical Center server. Access authorization to medical history signed by Claire Miller 2 weeks before the accident. She knew she was dying and didn't tell you anything." The silence that followed was absolute. Valerie touched David's arm gently. "He's lying, trying to manipulate you emotionally." "And if not?" David's voice sounded broken. "And if Claire?" His phone buzzed. The digital forensics firm, with attachments recovered from Robert's computer. David opened it with shaking hands. First document, medical history access authorization. Claire's signature. Dated October 15th, 2021, 2 weeks before the accident. Second document, medical report. Cerebral aneurysm detected. Prognosis unpredictable. Could rupture in days or remain stable indefinitely. David slid down against the wall, the phone slipping from his fingers. Valerie picked it up, read it. Her face softened with painful understanding. "David, she chose not to scare you. To live normally for whatever time she had. That's love, not betrayal." But David wasn't listening anymore. He only saw Claire's face that last morning, kissing him goodbye, smiling, always smiling, hiding a time bomb in her brain. 3 months later, Christmas was approaching in San Francisco, and with it, a strange peace had begun to settle into David Miller's life. Miller Tech Solutions was breathing again. Clients, initially shocked by the near catastrophe, had gradually returned upon hearing the true story, a CEO who fought internal sabotage and won. The business press had turned the narrative into an urban legend of resilient entrepreneurship. Robert awaited trial in pretrial detention. His lawyer was negotiating a reduced sentence for full cooperation. 8 years was the estimate. David found he didn't feel the expected triumph at that number, just a gray emptiness where friendship once lived. But there was something more, something David barely dared to name: Valerie. In 3 months, she'd gone from brilliant CFO to, what exactly? Work lunches stretched beyond professional. Late-night calls about figures ended in talks about childhood's fears, postponed dreams. Sophia had started asking why Miss Val didn't come over more on weekends. David found himself waiting for the sound of her heels in the hallway, memorizing how she bit her lower lip when concentrating, noticing how the winter light gilded her brown hair as she leaned over spreadsheets, and hating himself a little for it. Claire had only been gone 3 years. Was there an enough? Did enough exist? The doorbell interrupted his spiral of thoughts. It was 9 p.m. on a Friday. David opened the door to find Valerie on the threshold, her wool coat speckled with the fine winter rain. Sorry to come unannounced. Her voice sounded tense. I need to talk to you about Claire. David's heart stopped. The living room was dim, lit only by the reading lamp next to the couch, where Sophia had fallen asleep an hour earlier watching cartoons. David had covered her with a fleece blanket, her little hand clutching a worn stuffed animal. Valerie sat on the edge of the armchair, a manila envelope in her lap. I hired a private investigator. The words came out rushed, guilty. I know I should have consulted you, but after what Robert said about the medical files, I needed to know the full truth before deciding whether to tell you. Valerie looked up, her eyes shining. I spent 2 weeks debating with my therapist if it was ethical, if it had hurt you more than help, if I had the right. Valerie. David knelt in front of her, taking her shaking hands. Tell me, please. She took a deep breath. Claire knew about the aneurysm for 6 months when she died. Not 2 weeks, 6 months. The doctors told her it was unpredictable. She could live another 50 years, or not make it to Christmas. No surgery possible, just wait. David felt the ground tilt. 6 months. She lied to me she didn't lie. She chose to live. Valerie pulled documents from the envelope. Look at her consultation dates. She kept working, raising Sophia, loving you. She decided that if she had days or decades left, she'd live them fully instead of turning them into a terror countdown. The accident genuine. She was heading to UCSF Medical Center for her routine quarterly checkup. Witnesses confirmed the other driver ran a red light. Claire had no fault. Valerie squeezed his hands. David, she loved you so much she spared you 6 months of anticipated agony. That's not betrayal, it's the most generous sacrifice. The tears David had held back for 3 months finally broke the dam. He cried silently, shoulders shaking, as Valerie slid from the armchair to the floor, hugging him. I'm sorry, he whispered against her shoulder. Sorry for wasting so much time feeling guilty for surviving, for laughing again, for feeling something for you. Valerie pulled back just enough, her hands framing David's face. What do you feel for me? Everything. I feel everything. And it terrifies me because Claire would want you to be happy. Valerie's voice cracked. And God, David, I've been in love with you for over a year, watching you suffer, wishing I could erase your pain, hating myself for wanting something that seemed impossible. It's not impossible. David wiped a tear, rolling down her cheek. It scares, it hurts, but it's not impossible. The kiss started tentative, a brush of lips loaded with 3 years of grief, months of contained longing, fear of profaning memories. Then it deepened, and David felt something he thought dead awaken in his chest. Hope. A soft sound separated them. Sophia was sitting up on the couch, rubbing her eyes, watching them with a sleepy expression. Daddy, why are you crying? David tried to compose himself, but it was Valerie who spoke, her voice hoarse with emotion. Happy tears, little one. Just happy tears. Sophia yawned, then said with the simple logic of 6-year-olds, Val, are you staying over? You can use the guest room. Mommy always said special visitors sleep in the pretty room. David and Valerie exchanged glances. Your mommy talked to you about special visitors? David asked, voice strange. In my dream last night. Sophia curled back under the blanket. She said the lady with the pretty hair was going to take care of us now, and it's okay to love her, Daddy, that she wants us to be happy. A chill ran through the room. 10 months later, the corporate garden of Miller Tech Solutions had been transformed for the company's 10th anniversary celebration. Fairy lights hung from the ancient redwood trees, white draped tables dotted the manicured lawn, and the murmur of conversations mixed with soft acoustic guitar music. David watched from the second-floor terrace, an untouched glass of Cabernet in his hand. 10 years, a decade since Claire, and he signed the incorporation papers in that tiny Haight-Ashbury apartment, surviving on instant coffee and impossible dreams. You should be down there with your guests. Valerie's voice was warm, familiar. She slipped beside him, her midnight blue dress rippling in the May breeze. Needed a moment. David laced his fingers with hers, a gesture that in 10 months had become as natural as breathing. Thinking about everything that's changed this year. And it had changed everything. The company hadn't miraculously resurrected, as sensational press articles titled. Recovery had been slow, meticulous, painful. Some clients returned, others didn't. 3 lawsuits still wound through the courts, though lawyers were confident in favorable resolutions. But there were new contracts to strategic investors who believed in the resilience story, and for the first time in a year and a half, financial projections showed green. Valerie had been promoted to COO and minority partner, pure meritocracy. No one in the company dared suggest favoritism, not after seeing her work 80-hour weeks saving the firm. Their relationship was no longer secret. After months of discreet lunches and casual dinners, David had made the formal announcement at the quarterly meeting. Some employees applauded, others just smiled with the knowledge of those who'd guessed months ago. Sophia had accepted it with the magical adaptability of childhood. Val had become a constant presence, Friday dinners, homework help, accomplice in plots to convince Dad to allow a pet. What are you thinking? Valerie asked. That this morning I did something I should have done months ago. The Golden Gate National Cemetery was quiet under the midday sun. David and Valerie walked the white gravel paths to the simple marble headstone. Claire Miller, 1987 to 2021. Visionary wife, mother. David knelt, placing fresh white roses in the bronze vase. Hi, love. His voice was steady now, without the break from months before. I know it's been weeks since my last visit. Sophia's growing so beautifully. She aced her math test, definitely your legacy. Valerie stood respectfully a meter away, but David extended his hand. Come, please. She approached, kneeling beside him. Claire, there's someone I want to introduce formally, though I suspect you already know her somehow. Valerie Olson, the woman who saved everything we built, the woman who taught me that loving again doesn't betray the lost, that love multiplies, it doesn't divide. Valerie closed her eyes, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. I promise to honor your memory by loving your family, she whispered. I'll never try to replace you, Claire. Just continue what you started, care for what you loved. David placed a kiss on the headstone. Then they stood. As they walked back to the car, Valerie asked, Do you feel at peace? For the first time in 3 years, yes. The sunset tinted the garden in golden hues as David stepped onto the small stage for speeches. The chatter quieted. 150 employees, clients, and friends turned their attention to him. Exactly 10 years ago, my wife Claire and I had a crazy idea. Start a cybersecurity company from scratch. No investors, no connections, just passion and code. Many said we'd fail before year 1. Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. And we almost did. This year we faced the most brutal crisis imaginable. Internal sabotage, near bankruptcy, betrayal from someone I considered a brother. His gaze found Valerie in the crowd. But we survived because of something Claire always knew. A company isn't code or contracts, it's people. It's the CFO who works 40 hours straight hunting a wrong number. It's the 6-year-old who sees what adults overlook. Sophia, in the front row in her coral dress and shiny shoes, clapped with childish enthusiasm. This anniversary doesn't just celebrate a decade of existence, it celebrates second chances. It celebrates renewal from pain. David stepped down from the stage, walking straight to Valerie. And it celebrates that some dreams we thought lost can be found again, transformed but real. Valerie paled as David knelt before her. The garden erupted in hushed murmurs. Valerie Olson. David's voice trembled, but his gaze was steady. You've saved me in ways I'm still discovering. You gave me back not just my company, but my ability to believe in futures. I know this isn't conventional, that it's only been, he swallowed, that Claire will always be part of us. But I also know true love doesn't come with timers or permissions, it comes when it must. Would you do me the honor? Sophia appeared at his side, carrying a small blue velvet pillow with a solitaire ring gleaming under the garden lights. Of marrying me. Valerie covered her face, sobs shaking her shoulders. Then she nodded frantically, unable to speak. I need to hear it, someone shouted from the back. Yes, Valerie laughed through tears. Yes, 1,000 times yes. The garden exploded in deafening applause. As David slid the ring on her finger, Sophia tugged Valerie's sleeve. Val, I have something for you. Mommy asked me to give it to you when you said yes. Valerie blinked, confused. What? Sophia pulled a folded paper from her little purse. I drew it a long time ago. I don't know why. I just felt like I had to. Valerie unfolded the drawing. Her face lost all color. It was a childish sketch dated 8 months back, weeks before she and David confessed their feelings. A man, a woman with dark hair, and a little girl, all holding hands, a giant heart around them, and in wobbly but legible letters, my heart's new mommy. 1 year later, the same garden that had witnessed 10 years of corporate history now transformed into something more intimate, more eternal, a promise between two souls who'd learned love can bloom even in soil watered by tears. May had returned to San Francisco with its characteristic golden light. Among the ancient redwoods, 50 white chairs formed an aisle to a wildflower arch where David Miller waited. His charcoal gray suit impeccable, but his expression vulnerable, like a man on the edge of a beautiful precipice. The acoustic guitar music began. First came Sophia, almost unrecognizable from the little girl who'd pointed out a missing number 18 months ago. Now nearly 8, she walked with ceremonial seriousness, scattering white rose petals, Claire's favorites, with one hand while holding a small frame of her mother's photo with the other. It was Valerie's idea. Claire is part of this family. She deserves to be here. David's chest tightened seeing the frame. Claire smiled from the image, young and radiant in the same garden on the day they opened the offices. He thought he saw approval in those frozen eyes, but maybe it was just what he needed to believe. Then Valerie appeared at the building's threshold. The dress was simple, ivory silk falling in clean lines, no veil or excessive ornaments. She carried something blue from Claire woven discreetly into the hydrangea bouquet, a satin ribbon from Claire's last project before she died. Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Traditions linking past and future. The vows were brief, but devastatingly honest. Valerie. David's voice cracked but continued. You found me in pieces and didn't try to force me back together. You gave me space to heal, time to remember, permission to love again. I promise to honor that gift every day I have left. I promise to be the man you deserve and the father Sophia needs. And I promise to keep Claire's legacy alive in everything we build together. Valerie breathed shakily before speaking. David, I fell in love with your capacity to love deeply, even when that love caused you pain. I fell in love with your resilience, your fatherhood, your integrity. I don't promise to replace what you lost, no one could. But I promise to create something new with you. A family that honors the past while embracing the future. I promise to love Sophia as if I'd brought her into the world, and I promise to be worthy of the trust Claire somehow placed in me. There wasn't a dry eye among the guests. The civil judge smiled. By the power vested in me by the state of California, I pronounce you husband and wife. The kiss was soft, almost reverent, and when they parted, Sophia was between them, hugging both fiercely. During the reception, as guests ate and laughed, the photographer pulled David aside. There's something odd in one of the photos, probably just a light effect, but I thought you'd want to see it. The image showed the exact moment of the kiss. David, Valerie, and Sophia in the center, wildflowers framing them, and above, captured by the camera, a flare of light forming, perhaps by chance, perhaps not, an almost perfect heart. It's lens flare, the photographer explained. The sun was at the exact angle for, it's beautiful, Valerie interrupted softly, looking over David's shoulder. Can we get an enlarged copy? That night, as the last guests departed, David, Valerie, and Sophia planted a white rose bush in a quiet corner of the garden. The bronze plaque read simply, Claire Miller, visionary wife, mother. Her love built foundations that will never crumble. Sophia watered the bush with a small plastic watering can. then announced with the solemnity of children stating profound truths without fully understanding them, "Mommy's happy today." "I know it." David and Valerie exchanged glances over the girl's head. There was no way Sophia could know, no logic to explain it. But in the space between reason and mystery, they chose to believe. Because some legacies transcend death. True love doesn't end, it transforms, finds new channels, flows to hearts ready to receive it. Claire had loved enough to build something eternal. And now that eternity included Valerie, this reimagined family, this garden where past and future coexisted in imperfect but beautiful harmony. David took his wife's hand, his new wife's, as Sophia ran to chase fireflies among the redwoods. "Do you believe in signs?" he asked. Valerie smiled, looking at the newly planted rose bush. "I believe in love surviving loss. I believe in little girls who spot missing numbers. I believe in second chances, supernatural signs." She shrugged. "I prefer believing in the magic of imperfect people choosing to be brave." And maybe, David thought as the first stars appeared over San Francisco, that was miracle enough for any life. Have you ever felt like everything was lost, only to discover salvation came from a most unexpected place? David's story reminds us that sometimes second chances come disguised as crises, and that true love doesn't compete with memories, it honors them. If this tale of resilience, family, and redemption touched your heart, give us a like and share this video with someone who needs to believe that calm always follows the storm. Your support helps us keep creating stories that inspire and move. Do you think David made the right choice in allowing himself to love again? What do you think of the role Sophia played in saving not just the company, but her father's heart too? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We love reading every one of your reflections. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the perfect time. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our stories of love, overcoming, and hope. By the way, what country are you watching from? Tell us in the comments.